On to the latest in the Vodafone Idea AGR dues saga, and the CJI has said that the matter has been adjourned and the government is willing to hear Vodafone Idea's views. Before we get you the word from an expert, well, our colleague Danish Anand, who's been tracking the developments very closely from the courtrooms, joins us with all the details of this court case. Tell us, Danish.
Well, in a big relief to Vodafone Idea, the Supreme Court today permitted the central government to consider Vodafone Idea's viewpoints on the overall AGR dues. Let me tell you that Vodafone Idea had reached to the Supreme Court last month, in which it highlighted that how back-to-back fresh AGR orders are creating a huge impact on companies' financials, and moreover, the fresh AGR demand that DOT had furnished to Vodafone Idea, it amounts to somewhere around 9,400 crores. And considering the financial situation of the company, Vodafone Idea has reached to the Supreme Court seeking a relief on interest penalty and interest on penalty. But in today's hearing, which finally happened after 3 deferred hearings, SG Tushar Mehta, who is representing the government, he said that considering that how big Vodafone Idea is, and it has almost 20 crore users and it has thousands of employees. So for their betterment, they have thought that the government will be considering some kind of proposal. And later on, we saw SG Tushar Mehta handing over a document which is a proposal from the central government side to the Supreme Court. Mughal Rohatgi, who was representing Vodafone Idea, he agreed to this offer and he obliged to Chief Justice of India that the top court is finally considering Vodafone Idea's situation right now. So all in all, if we see, it is a big relief for Vodafone Idea, as now the ball is between the Department of Telecommunications and Vodafone Idea, and it is expected that in the coming few days the government will be giving a proposal to Vodafone Idea, and then we will come to know that what sort of money will Vodafone Idea will have to finally pay to the central government.
That's right, Danish. Thanks so much for getting us all those initial details coming in from the courtroom action. It's a very important development, been in the waiting for quite some time. And take a look at Vodafone Idea stock, up 10% in trade. It has really spiked up. But another counter which has also done well, which is dependent on Vodafone Idea's prospects and business, is Indus Tower. Take a look at that counter as well, inching towards a 5% uptick on that as well. All right, to talk about the implications of this and what this story and this development means for telecom, and especially these two counters, Piyush Pandey, who's a telecom analyst at Centrum Broking, joins us now. Piyush, good to have you on NDTV Profit. First, your views on the court action and the Supreme Court's verdict today from the hearing. How positive is this development? Relief, yes, but not a complete relief in terms of how much relief is coming in, and the government, discussion has to begin now.
See, broadly, this decision was broadly expected, unexpected line. And see, anyway, like say, the intention of the government is to maintain a 3+1 structure. And 3+1 structure, and Vodafone had close to 20 crore customers. So in a way, with the current balance, it was difficult for Vodafone to expand its operations. And so broadly, unexpected lines. But now it's up to government, like what kind of relief they are able to provide in terms of interest and policy on these areas.
Right. So, Piyush, given this development, how would you rate the Vodafone's stock at the moment? What could be the target? At the moment, it has crossed the 10 rupees per share mark with the uptick today. How would you consider the uptake going forward, and what would be the fair value given this positive development?
So, of course, this is a positive decision, so that is driving, I would say, uptick in the Vodafone stock. But I would say any upside depends on the actual decision of the government. So we have to wait to see the amount of relief Vodafone actually gets, and that can say sort of decide the further upside in the Vodafone stock. But having said that, I think another way to look at it is say Indus Tower, which would also be key beneficiary of this decision. So that can be another way to play this decision. Yeah.
And Piyush, the other counter which has also done pretty well because of this relief coming in from Vodafone Idea is Indus Tower. And we know how dependent is Indus on the business prospects and well-being of Vodafone's financials. How do you see that particular counter? It's up close to 5% in trade at the moment.
Yeah, so broadly, Indus Towers, of course, it remains highly dependent on Vodafone Idea. And with this decision, we expect that Vodafone would be able to increase its capex to drive its 4G and 5G rollout. And any further improvement in operations or like the capex program will be positive for the investor. So I would say investor can be a better play for any sort of relief on this Vodafone Idea.
That's right. That particular stock really euphoric because of the relief in Vodafone Idea. Hold on, Piyush. We also have Balaji Subramanian joining us, who's the Vice President Research at IIFL Capital. Balaji, always a pleasure speaking to you. What do you make of this relief coming in from the Supreme Court for Vodafone Idea, even though the amount per se or the amount of relief is still not really concretized, but the court hearing and the verdict definitely is a very good news for Vodafone Idea.
Hi, good day. Thanks for having me on the show. I think this is a very clear positive development because it gives the government a free hand in terms of whatever it can do to offer relief to Vodafone Idea, because all these years the government was government had its hands tied at the back because they had to work within the ambit of the 2020 Supreme Court judgment. But now what changes is that with an order, effectively the Supreme Court has put it in writing that they would be fine with whatever steps the government is taking. So the way I look at it is that first of all, there could be a moratorium on the AGR and spectrum payments. There could be a potential extension in terms of the timeline of the AGR payment, which as of today stands at 31st March 2031, based on the original Supreme Court verdict. And most importantly, the government might also decide to waive off the interest penalty and interest on penalty, which accounts for nearly 60,000 crores of the 80,000 odd crores liability that Vodafone Idea faces right now. So I think if the third one were to pan out, then it will be a really big relief for Vodafone Idea, because their cash flow commitment towards the government would meaningfully go down. So I think it's a clear positive, and it will also help Vodafone Idea in terms of completing their debt raise, which they have been talking about for almost a year and a half now. So once that comes in, they will continue with their rollout. That means that Indus Towers will benefit from the additional rollouts of Vodafone Idea. So in a way, it will set a virtuous cycle off for both Vodafone Idea and Indus.
That's right, Balaji. And in fact, government is a big stakeholder in Vodafone Idea as well. And any relief would be most welcome for this particular company as well. But considering Vodafone Idea, how do you see the prospects and the right fair value of this particular counter going forward with these developments?
I think from a trading standpoint, the stock should, I wouldn't be surprised if the stock goes up by a fair bit even from here on, because if I were to take a situation where the interest on penalty on the AGR dues is waived off, then 60,000 crores, as I mentioned, is a little over 5.5 rupees per share. So that is pretty meaningful. But that said, I think they still have certain other issues that they need to sort out, because even after doing a fair bit of capex, they are still losing subscribers. And because of that, despite the tariff hikes that were taken last year by the industry, the flow-through for Vodafone Idea from those tariff hikes was the least. And they also have a pretty sizable spectrum debt. So let us not forget that the AGR dues are only about 35-40% of their overall dues, and they have a sizable spectrum debt as well. So I think things are, still not all that hunky-dory for Vodafone Idea, but at least, I think the near-term solvency issues and the cash flow issues should largely get sorted out because of, whatever can potentially happen based on today's developments.
That's right, Balaji. Well pointed out that this is not the only factor which is really plaguing Vodafone Idea. There are many other aspects, and especially operational as well as subscriber reduction. That is also a very big worry. So whether this relief can help them combat other difficulties is a big question. Before we let you go, when we are talking about the whole telecom sector, how soon are you expecting another tariff hike? Because that will create some euphoria in the sector, and that's the biggest trigger also coming up next.
So if you look at the tariff hike, there have been some subtle tariff hikes. All telcos have removed the 1 GB per day packs. I think they removed it about a month and a half back or so. So that is a slight nudge towards getting customers to pay more. And but I think you still need an outright tariff hike, especially considering the cash flow challenges that Vodafone Idea is facing. And let us not forget that Reliance is also has also spelled out that they would like to do an IPO of Jio platforms by the first half of next calendar. So I think all that points towards a tariff hike in a not so distant future. Of course, predicting an exact timeline is quite difficult for anyone. And but I wouldn't be surprised if something happens in the next 3-4 months or so.
All right, Balaji, thanks so much. Always a pleasure speaking to you, and lots of important takeaways and points. Of course, how much of relief coming in for Vodafone Idea with discussions with the government is one thing to watch out for. Second, of course, when tariff takes place in the telecom sector. And third, of course, how will it really give relief to Vodafone Idea in combating other operational issues that it is facing, and also the debt that it has on its books. So it needs to be seen.